If you're planning to travel in 2025, there are some important changes you need to know because missing just one update could mess up your entire trip. This year, new rules are kicking in for flying within the US, going to Europe, or visiting the UK. Things like ID requirements, new travel forms, and even fingerprint checks are becoming part of the process. It might sound complicated, but don't worry. We're going to walk you through everything step by step. We'll break down what's changing, when it's happening, and what you need to do to stay ahead. Whether you're planning a vacation, going to see family, or heading out for work, knowing these new rules will save you time, stress, and maybe even money. So let's get into it. Here are the biggest travel changes coming in 2025 and what you need to do to be ready. Starting May 7th, 2025, you'll need a real ID to fly within the United States. Yes, even for domestic flights. So what is a real ID? It's a state-issued driver's license, or ID card, that meets federal security standards. You can usually tell if your ID is Real ID compliant by looking for a star in the corner. No star? You'll need to upgrade it. If you try to fly without a Real ID, or without a valid passport or military ID, you could be denied at airport security. That's not something you want to deal with the morning of your trip. To get a Real ID, you'll need to visit your local DMV with extra documents, like a birth certificate or passport, proof of your social security number, and a couple of documents that show your address. Each state has slightly different rules, so it's a good idea to check your state's DMV website now. The earlier you handle this, the better. Lines will get long as the deadline gets closer. If you don't want a Real ID, you can still use a valid passport or certain other forms of federal ID to fly. But for most people, getting the Real ID is just simpler. Bottom line, don't wait until the last minute. This rule has been delayed for years, but 2025 is the real deal. Finding these tips helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I've got plenty more travel hacks, smart tips, and important rule updates coming your way. Stay ahead and travel smarter. If you're heading to Europe in late 2025 or beyond, there's a big change coming called the Entry-Exit System, or ETIAS. It's set to roll out in October 2025, and it's going to affect how travelers from outside the EU, like Americans, enter and leave the region. Right now, when you fly into Europe, a border officer checks and stamps your passport. That system is being replaced with a digital process that tracks your entry and exit electronically. Under EES, you'll need to scan your passport and provide biometric data, like fingerprints and a facial scan, when you arrive. This data will be stored in a secure system for up to 3 years. The goal is to improve border security and make it easier to spot travelers who overstay their allowed time. But in the beginning, it could mean longer wait times at border checkpoints, especially if you're arriving during peak travel months. The EES will apply to all non-EU travelers visiting the Schengen area, which includes countries like France, Germany, Spain, Italy, and more. So if your trip involves any of these, this new rule affects you. The good news? Once the system is running smoothly, it should speed things up in the long run. But in the early months, just plan for some possible delays and be patient. Pro tip: get to immigration lines early and keep an eye on airline or airport updates for how they're handling the rollout. Even though this one isn't launching until late 2026, it's worth knowing about now because it's already creating confusion. It's called ETIAS, short for the European Travel Information and Authorization System. It's not a visa, but you will need it to visit most European countries, even just for vacation. Here's how it works. Before your trip, you'll need to go online and fill out an ETIAS application. You'll answer some basic questions, passport info, travel plans, health and security stuff, and pay a small fee, expected to be around €7, about $8. If everything checks out, your ETIAS will be approved quickly, usually within minutes. It's valid for 3 years or until your passport expires, whichever comes first. This applies to travelers from visa-free countries like the US, Canada, and Australia, visiting most EU nations, especially those in the Schengen area. If you're not sure if your destination is included, check the official EU ETIAS site when it launches. Now here's the key. You'll need ETIAS before boarding your flight. Even though it's not required until 2026, airlines will be checking for it, so make sure you're approved ahead of time. If you're planning any trips in late 2026 or beyond, keep this on your radar. You don't want to get caught off guard by this one. It's a simple process, but forgetting it could mean missing your flight. If you're planning a trip to the United Kingdom in 2025, there's another new rule to watch: the UK ETA, or Electronic Travel Authorization. Starting in January 2025, travelers from countries like the US, Canada, and Australia will need to apply for an ETA before entering the UK, even for short visits. Think of it like the UK's version of ETIAS. It's not a visa, but it's required for things like tourism, visiting friends and family, or business trips. You'll apply online or through a mobile app, fill out a short form, and pay a small fee, expected to be under £10, around 12,000 USD. Most applications should be approved within a few days, and once approved, the ETA will be valid for multiple entries over 2 years. You'll need to show proof of your ETA before boarding your flight, and airlines will be checking for it, just like they do with passports or boarding passes. This rule will apply to travel to England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, so make sure it's part of your prep list if you're crossing the pond in 2025 or later. One more tip: don't confuse the UK ETA with ETIAS. They're separate systems for different places. If you're visiting both Europe and the UK in one trip, you might need both authorizations. Traveling in 2025 might come with a few surprise expenses, especially if you're heading abroad. With all these new travel systems, ETIAS for Europe, ETA for the UK, and others, entry fees are becoming more common, even for countries that didn't used to require them. These aren't huge charges, but they can add up, especially if you're visiting multiple countries. For example, the ETIAS fee is about $7, roughly $8, and the UK ETA is expected to cost under £10, about $12. If you're traveling with family or a group, that can easily add $50 or more to your trip, just in entry fees. Some countries are also introducing tourist taxes or entry surcharges at the airport or when booking accommodations. These small fees help fund tourism infrastructure, but aren't always advertised up front. So what can you do? Plan ahead and budget smart. Add an extra line to your travel budget for entry fees and digital authorizations. And always double-check the official government websites of the countries you're visiting. Don't rely on outdated blog posts or social media rumors. Also beware of scam websites charging more for ETIAS or ETA applications. Always apply through the official portals when they go live. Bottom line, these fees aren't outrageous, but they're easy to overlook, and nobody likes last-minute surprises at the airport. Traveling in 2025 is going to look a little different, but if you're prepared, it doesn't have to be stressful. Let's recap the key changes. In the US, you'll need a real ID to fly domestically, starting May 7, 2025. No star on your ID. It's time to upgrade. Heading to Europe, the new Entry/Exit System, ETIAS, launches in October 2025 with passport scans and biometrics at the border. And while ETIAS doesn't start until late 2026, you'll want to keep it on your radar, especially if you have future travel plans. Planning a trip to the UK? You'll need an ETA starting January 2025, even for a quick getaway. Plus, don't forget about entry fees and tourist taxes that can sneak into your travel costs. All of these updates might sound like a lot, but here's the good news. Once you know the rules, they're easy to follow. The key is to plan ahead, apply early, and double-check your documents before you book that flight. If you're unsure, check official government websites. They'll always have the most up-to-date info. And hey, if you found this helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this with a friend who loves to travel too. The world is still out there waiting for you, just with a few more steps at the airport. Safe travels in 2025.